I bet you didn't know why Ariat's called Ariat. It's named after the horse Secretariat. But more importantly, they're giving away $5,000 worth of stuff to you guys.
Just kidding, it was actually 15,000, not 5,000.
To help us celebrate that 1,000,000 subscriber mark, and it just happens to be in one of their videos. So to enter to win, there's 3 ways to enter. The form in the description, the bio, or even on the website. At the bottom of that form is your second chance giveaway, just in case you missed any of the other brands. And the third way to enter is the Instagram daily repost giveaway. Just share one of those posts about the Ariat giveaway, and you're entered to win one of those. And that's it. So huge shout out to Ariat for donating $5,000 worth of stuff to you guys.
It's 15K.
And thank you guys for supporting this giveaway and everything you've done to get us to 1,000,000 subscribers. Now let's get to the Ariat video. Ariat is one of the top work boot brands in the entire world because their boots are affordable, they're comfortable, and they're reliable. But they have like 1,000 different pairs of boots. They're one of these companies that have like different boot for every single niche. And so we grabbed 3 of their top work boots to compare and contrast, run through all of our tests, cut them in half to really figure out which is Ariat's best work boot, which of these is best for which application, why Ariat is one of the kings of work boots, and ultimately when deciding between all the different options that Ariat has, which is the best option for your application based off of your needs. And thanks to Ariat for sponsoring this video and sending us these 3 boots. So what are the contenders? Well, all 3 are Ariats. The style is the Endeavor 8-inch waterproof carbon toe. They weigh 2 pounds 3 ounces. They retail for $199. They're made in Vietnam, and the way that they position this product is a rock solid boot for outdoor work and construction. Endeavor pairs full range stability with durable outdoor traction. An anatomical shape keeps your feet supported on the job, and a shock absorbing insole helps reduce foot fatigue. Heavy duty outdoor work boot. Up next, we got the brand Is Ariat. The style is the Stump Jumper 8-inch comp toe. They weigh a little bit heavier at 2 pounds 13 ounces. They're a little bit more expensive at $250. They're also made in Vietnam, and the way they position this product is extreme outdoor work environments call for an extreme outdoor work boot. Stump Jumper delivers the durable support, protection, and incredible cushioning you need for long days on your feet. The aggressive debris releasing outsole is built to tackle mud and rocks, making the ideal boot for harsh outdoor work environments and heavy duty construction. So basically a more heavy duty, more outdoor oriented, durable version of the Endeavor. How's that compared to this boot? Well, the brand is Ariat. The style is the Logger Shock Shield waterproof work boot. They weigh more similar to the Endeavors at 2 pounds 2 ounces. They retail for the cheapest of the bunch at $189. They're also made in Vietnam, and the way they position this product is rugged logger style meets Ariat innovation. The Logger Shock Shield collection absorbs impact to your feet, helping you stay comfortable longer. Extremely durable, cushioned, and with heavy duty traction, it's ideal for harsh outdoor jobs, high heat environments, and intense construction work. If you want any of these 3 boots, be sure to check them out via links in my description. So now let's start going through the details, starting with the upper first and going through the leather most importantly, because leather is one of the most durable materials in the world, especially for work boots, but it can vary wildly from cheap to really expensive, and the durability and the longevity kind of follows that trend. So how good is this leather? Well, Ariat's notorious for having really good leather, and what they do that's really unique is they add tons of overlays and bumpers and supports and all this redundancy to make it not just look more durable, but to actually increase the durability. And we'll see if these are actually double layered and if they're actually made to be more durable or just to have the look of durability when we get them cut in half. But this leather is a good leather. It comes in at around 2 to 2.5 millimeters thick. It's a lightly sanded nubuck leather, but we looked at the cross section, plenty of grain still left in it. We burned the leather. It acts like normal leather, so no heavy pigment on top. We did the puncture test. It punctured through at 98 pounds, so right in the middle of our test results. We did the waterproof test because they say they're waterproof and they pass with flying colors. The leather, it still absorbs water, so the leather itself is not waterproof, but the boot is waterproof. So for the price range, it's right where you want to be. It's a good leather for the price point. Compare that to the more beefy, heavy-duty Stump Jumpers. This is a little bit thicker, a little more saturated, and a little bit more hardy of a leather because it just has a more saturated feel. So there's more oils and conditioning work into it. It's a little bit thicker and a little bit tighter of a grain because it's not quite as sanded all the way down. So it comes in at 2.5 millimeters thick. It looks like it's a shrunken leather to some degree because you can see this little wrinkly effect. That's usually what happens when you shrink the hide. And shrinking the hide decreases the yield instead of stretching it out really thin. It can lead to more stretching, but you get a lot more bulk and a lot more material per square foot, which makes it more durable, more flexible, but it's more prone to stretching. We burned this leather. It looks like it has more oils and conditioner worked into it like it feels. And then we did the puncture test. It took 90 pounds, so very similar to the Endeavors, but still plenty to protect you. We also ran the waterproof test on these, and they performed better than the Endeavors because this leather doesn't absorb water as much. But this is just built to be a little bit more harsh weather condition resistant. You know, because it's got the dry shield, it's got the 600 grams of insulation, it has the safety certifications here, and this leather is more water resistant. Then we look at the dry shield and the cheapest of the boots, and this does have the cheapest leather. You know, it's a little bit looser in the grain. You can see how it has a little bit of that foamier kind of effect rather than these highly saturated leathers. It looks like it has a little bit of a pigment on top. So we ran the burn test, and it does seem like there is a top coat, at least a little bit, on these more shiny patterns. It's not a huge top coat like sometimes you see in sneakers. It's more of like a protective coat that will also give you an even finish for this solid black boot. But I prefer a more natural leather that has more natural properties, because over time you'll start chipping off some of that heavy pigment. We looked at the macro shot of this, and there does look like there's a little bit of a layer of something on top, but through that cross section you can see what I mean by it being a little bit looser, a little bit less condition. It has a little bit more of a foamy feel, and it's also a little bit thinner at 2 millimeters. So out of the 3 boots, this one is probably the least high quality of leather, but it's still on par for any sub $200 boot. And that's backed up with the puncture test, because we did that test and it only took 23 pounds to puncture through. And we did the waterproof test, and it passed with flying colors with the waterproof test. And honestly, it probably out of the 3 leathers, it absorbed the least amount of water. So there is some pros and cons to it, but it seems like the price point pretty well follows the quality of leather. What about the inside? Well, the Endeavor is a pretty traditional lining. It's just a fabric lining, but I love what Ariat's been doing with their heel counters, because in the last few years, they've really started adding these dedicated heel counters on the inside. I can't tell if it's leather or fake leather, but either way, at least it's something that's more durable than just this fabric on the inside to prevent that one wear spot that almost everyone gets right at the heel. You compare that to the Stump Jumpers, very similar lining around the collar, very similar heel counter cover, but this is that 600 gram insulation from 3M, and so it's got a more of a quilted pattern on the inside, and it looks like it's a more hardy material that's not going to wear through quite as fast. But either way, at the heel where your most wear happens is that flesh out what looks like leather. We'll see we get cut in half, but they're pretty comparable. You just have a different pattern because this one's insulated. Then you look at the Logger shock shield. Once again, very similar setup, fabric lining, that heel counter, and so they're pretty similar across the board, honestly. The only difference really being the insulation in the Stump Jumpers. So we're starting to find our direction a little bit here, where this may be a heavy duty but lighter work boot. Really heavy duty, insulated, waterproof, all the protection, all the redundancies, but might not be a very good summer work boot. And this one is kind of pared down, more simple, more traditional, more old school, and obviously more logger. But what about the insoles? Well, the Endeavor and the Stump Jumper, exact same insole, exact same shape almost too. Whereas the logger has a little bit softer, a little bit squishier insole, and they're nice, they're really comfy. The orange pairs in the Endeavor and the Stump Jumper just have a little bit more rebound. But if there's one thing that Ariat does that really has separated them over the last 10 years, or even 20 years, honestly, is the comfort. And a lot of that comfort comes through the midsole. The area of the boot between what you're standing on and that hard outsole, that's a lot of where you get your comfort and your squish. And Ariat is known for making some soft, squishy, comfortable work boots. Because the Endeavor, it has their FLX foam. They say it's a light, springy feel that cushions every step. But it also has another thing I really like about Ariat is they innovate in how they structure their boot to make that extra comfort more stable. Because you can see it has this hard plastic shank. I think it's the type of shank that kind of runs through a lot of the boot in a single piece, structuring multiple pieces rather than just a single strip of a shank. And it's not going to give you the same support as like a steel shank, but it's going to give you more support than just a plastic shank or no shank in more affordable work boots. And when I say this midsole soft, I mean soft, because it comes in at 30 Shore A. That's about as soft as you want to go for a midsole. Any softer, you start feeling like you're walking in quicksand. So we'll see how much foam is actually on the inside. We get these cut in half, because once again, the Stump Jumpers are very similar. It has that exact same FLX foam, but this, it's a little bit softer. It comes in at a 20 Shore A. I think the way they got away with that is with the midsole, you can see there's a hard plate running the entire length, whereas the Endeavor does not have that. And so that allows you to equally compress that even softer foam instead of compressing it in individual spots, leading to more squish, more shock absorption without that quicksand feeling. And this also has their ATS like shank style construction. So I don't know if that's counting this whole midsole, if there's another shank on the inside, we'll see when we get it cut in half. But the one that's really different, but still has that exact same ATS shank, is the logger, because we have no idea what the midsole is. This is your more traditional logger style where there's no exposed midsole. It looks like there's a rubber slip sole, but because of this style of construction, it's more true to the traditional Goodyear welt. And that leads us to maybe the biggest difference between these boots is how they're actually constructed, because the Endeavor is a more modern construction where it's either cemented or direct injected or both. The benefits of that is really quick to make, it's really easy to make, it's affordable, they're fairly strong for what you get, they're really comfortable, they have a lot more articulation because they don't have all the stitching and redundant layers that you compare to the Stump Jumper. Similar in the midsole, but this is a true Goodyear welt construction where you have that welt strip running around the entirety of the boot that attaches the upper down to the welt and then the welt down to the midsole. And so that's another reason why they had to do this full length plate, so there was something solid to sew that welt down to. And then the loggers are just your true traditional Goodyear welt construction with the, like I said, like no visible midsole and more true to the original. So you've got your modern cemented construction, your old school Goodyear welt construction, and with the Stump Jumper combining the two of them to try to pull the features and attributes that everyone likes about both of those styles of construction into one boot. I think. We haven't cut them in half yet. And as for the outsoles, they're all gonna be pretty hardy and tough outsoles because they're outdoor work boots. The Endeavor comes in at about 75 Shore. We did the bar drop test at about 6 inches. Puncture test we went through at 136 pounds. So not bad. You know, that's about the results you wanna see for a work boot. But you compare that to the Stump Jumper, which has a more beefy outsole. It has the oil slip resistant, but it has this glacier grip, which is all for slip resistance on ice and snow to give you great traction in the cold winter months outside. And it's a little bit softer at a 70 Shore, so it's gonna be a little bit grippier in those cold conditions while still maintaining a lot of that durability of a hard rubber. And the ball drop test bounced up 4.5 inches, just so less than the Endeavors. But the puncture test, it punctured through at 278 pounds. So clearly the most puncture resistant out of the two. How's that compared to the Logger? Well, this is a single unit outsole. It just looks like it's all solid rubber. We'll see if there's voids and stuff in the heel on the inside, but it's also really hard rubber. It's about 75 Shore. The ball drop tested the worst on this at 3 inches, and the puncture test right in the middle at 175 pounds. So now let's cut these in half, see what's on the inside, see what kind of midsole this has, how this is all structured, and really figure out which of these boots is best for you and which is their best outdoor work boot. Bear Slayers are back, this time in the new Blood Bison. But if you have no idea what the Bear Slayers are, it was our attempt to make the perfect Pacific Northwest boot. It ended up being shaped around my perfect bear hunting boot, which I go bear hunting up in the Pacific Northwest. And we tried to fix every little problem that I had with the Pacific Northwest boots. With the toe being super rigid, we used the OT platform from JK. The flex teeth, we added in the bear hug arch support on the inside, and all those little teeny adjustments really changed the entire feel of the boot. Super cool collaboration, limited quantities. Be sure on that limited edition email list, you get early access, the sizing guide, everything you need to know to make sure you get a pair. So get ready. All right, we got them cut in half. And thank you guys for supporting these videos. If you're not subscribed, consider doing it, because that's how we're able to cut apart 3 boots in one video, just to show you exactly what you're getting, to condense it into one video, to help you make smart buying decisions for the equipment that you have to buy a lot of times for work. So push that little sub button, push the like, give us some support, and see what's inside. So what is on the inside of these boots? Well, the Endeavor and the Stump Jumper are fairly similar on the inside. You can see what I meant by that 3-dimensional shank supporting in multiple ways that wraps around the heel. And I was right about the shank in the Stump Jumper. It looks like there's a dedicated shank underneath, but they also are utilizing that midsole as a shank and a support for that Goodyear welt. But you can see they're fairly similar. It's almost like they just took the Endeavor and were like, more foam, more protective layers, more beefiness. And because that's exactly what it is. It's a similar construction with a true Goodyear welt, but with a lot of the synthetic materials. Very similar, except that this is a cemented construction. And you can see how that changes the way they construct things, because you've got 3 layers underneath the insole that the upper wraps underneath and then is attached to. Whereas with the beefed up Stump Jumper, you've got even more layers, a redundant, looks like puncture resistant material. And then because it's a Goodyear welt, there's a void caused by that welt coming into the insole and how it ties in. And so they fill that void with some foam. And so that's where you get a little extra squish from this. It's where you get a little, that's a lot of layers actually. How many inches? Is that like an inch of material? That's an 1.25 inches worth of material at your arch. And at the heel, not counting the insole, that's 2 inches. And so this is a really beefy, really substantial boot that's similar to how they build the Pacific Northwest boots with all the layers of leather, but they use more affordable and more comfortable materials while still maintaining that traditional way of the Goodyear welt and keeping a lot of the stability because of how they integrate the shank and how it's all structured. And you compare that to the Logger, and it's similar. You know, it's just a more pared down version of the Stump Jumper because it's not as beefy. But what surprised me is you have a ton of foam in the heel. You've got a little patch here in the actual outsole that's going to reduce some of the weight, give you more squish, more comfort. Then you have an entire orange patch that cuts through all the layers except for that lasting layer that the Goodyear welt is sewn to. And so all 3 of these boots are super redundant in the layers, in the materials, in the firm materials that give it support like shank, in the squishy materials like the midsoles and the insole layers, and while still all 3 of them having a hardy rubber outsole. And we ran the safety toe test, both passed with flying colors. And I like these composite and these carbon fiber style safety toes because they're not steel toes, so they don't get cold. They're a little bit lighter, they're more comfortable, and they can make more shapes from them to fit more boots, but they're just a little bit more bulbousy. And what about this heel counter? Is that actually leather or is it fake leather? Unfortunately, it's fake leather. But I still would take a fake leather over just this fabric as the heel counter. It's just not the optimal choice, but it's still gonna last longer than just fabric. So what are the final results? Which of these is the absolute best work boot? I think if you're going for most durable, the Stump Jumper is probably gonna be the most durable. If you're going for the most comfortable, I think the Endeavor is probably gonna be the most comfortable. The most traditional is your Logger boot because it's got the higher heel, it's got the more traditional construction, less squishy materials through the midsole. Which of these are good for which application? Well, the Endeavor is probably your best all-around work boot in terms of like you can wear it in a lot of different seasons, a lot of different applications. It's gonna be really comfortable, it's gonna give you a lot of stability, but it maintains what Ariat really is a really comfortable, long-lasting, quality work boot that's still fairly affordable. But for the Stump Jumper, it's like I said the whole video, it's just like the Endeavor but on steroids. It's got the Goodyear welt, it's gonna make it more durable materials, more layers, more squish, more support, and it has all that insulation. So this specific version of the Stump Jumper would be better suited for colder environments. And then if you're the type of guy that likes the old school Logger style with the really tall heel, the more traditional construction, and you're on a little bit of a budget because these are the cheapest of the bunch, this is a unique hybrid of modern work boots with the heritage style work boots. It's not gonna last nearly as long as a true heritage boot that has a lot more durable materials like leather, but it still maintains the look of a heritage boot, the construction of the heritage boot. It's just on the inside, you get all the soft squishiness and affordability that Ariat's known for. So now that we've seen every single layer, what is it that makes Ariat such a popular work boot company? You know, compared to all these other work boot companies, well, it's exactly what we went over. It's the comfort combined with the durability. It's the modern materials combined with the traditional techniques. It's combining modern work boots with heritage work boots because heritage work boots are arguably the most durable work boots in the world, but modern work boots are arguably the most comfortable work boots in the world. And so Ariat, since day one with English riding boots, has tried to combine both of those and maintain the best qualities of both. And that's exactly what you see here in the work boots. You know, they're not the most high quality, they're not the most durable, but they're affordable, they're comfortable, and they're dependable across the board. So let me know what you think and your experience in these. What would you use each of these for, and what other Ariat boots you want us to cut apart? Because I like doing these compilation videos because it allows us to round out more of the brand and what they have to offer instead of hyper focusing on one specific boot. So thank you guys. Give us some support so we can do more videos like this because it's a lot of work to put these together and a lot of work for the editors. So thank you guys. See ya.